Hey loves, it's Britt, and in this video I'm talking about Mercury in conjunct or quincunx to Venus in Synastry. How does this aspect come up and feel? This is one of the more minor inconjuncts. I always say in all my videos about the inconjunct aspect that it's a not so minor aspect because it is tending to be pretty difficult to resolve, like even more so than the opposition aspect. But in this case, between Mercury and Venus, it is a more minor thing, but there are definitely some difficulties that will come up. So, Mercury Venus aspects in general create a feeling of understanding and good communication and shared values and pleasure in, like the day to day moments. And when Mercury and Venus are in conjunct or quincunx in synastry, the way that the Mercury person thinks, communicates, interprets life on the intellectual level is in this really awkward aspect, right? The quincunx to the Venus person's self worth and feeling of inner beauty and how they express their love and affection. So, this one tends to bring some misunderstandings, but it's not unresolvable. It's actually pretty easy to deal with, but there just is a lot of explaining that has to happen. So, like, communication at the nonverbal level is not always so good. Um, the Venus person can feel like they have to explain to the Mercury person, this is how I love, this is how I want to be loved, this is how you can make me feel better about myself. Like it's like they have to teach Mercury how to communicate with them. um Otherwise, the way that Mercury naturally communicates is sometimes seeming critical of Venus or hurtful towards Venus. And Mercury doesn't even realize that they're doing this because Mercury's just going ahead and communicating their random thoughts of the day to day life things that they're doing. And Venus can really, when Mercury is just in their flow of communication, feel not seen or not understood in the feminine level, in the feminine sense. So they might have understanding in other places where, there's other compatible aspects. But as far as the way the Mercury person thinks and the way the Venus person expresses their heart and their love and also what they find pleasurable. So the Mercury person, by just communicating their thoughts and the way that they think, can give the Venus person the ick. So often, the Venus person might have to say to Mercury, when you talk, like you make me feel put down, or you make me feel the ick for you. You make me feel grossed out for you. Like you don't get me. You don't, and the Mercury person doesn't realize that they're being hurtful. They don't realize that they're doing this. So it just requires the Venus person to kind of stand up and say, hey, the way that you're communicating doesn't make me feel loved. Or there's like this awkward energy. It's not that 100% of the time Venus doesn't feel love. It's just that with the inconjunct aspect, there sometimes is like some kind of sacrifice that each people or each person has to make. Like, so for the Mercury, it's like they have to learn how to communicate in a way that's a little bit more to Venus's liking, or they have to learn how to appeal to that Venus person's Venus, which is their love nature, their heart, what they find pleasurable, what they find valuable. So it takes effort, it takes a little bit of work to learn each other with this one. And like, you really don't want to like leave things unsaid and just think, oh, he's gonna pick it up, or he's gonna get it, or he's gonna figure it out, like, or she's gonna figure it out, or whatever. Like, you want to actually be clear, like, no, this is what I desire. This is like how I want to be treated. This, or the Mercury person can even explain, like, this is just how I think and communicate. It's really not personal to the Venus person. So, the one good thing about this aspect is there does tend to be a lot of communication, even if some of it is miscommunication. And, the Venus person wants to share their heart with Mercury and wants to, be loving towards Mercury. They just, sometimes there's kind of an awkward expression in that where you can see with this aspect, like the way the Venus person flirts or the way the Venus person expresses their feminine energy is like not understood by the Mercury person. The Mercury person comes at it with a different angle, and then the Venus person starts to question, oh, like, am I okay? Like, am I attractive, or am I their type? That can really go through the Venus person's head. Like, am I really this person's type, right? But it's probably not that you're not the Mercury person's type, Venus. It's just that the way that Mercury communicates makes you feel like you're maybe not their type, but you could in fact be their type. You'd have to look at their natal Venus, right, to see that. So it's a really interesting interplay that it does tend to show a little bit of awkwardness with flirting, or a little bit of, yeah, misunderstandings, miscommunications. This is probably one of the more difficult Mercury Venus aspects, although it's less noticeable. So you're not going to really start to notice this until you've been in the relationship for a little while. It's not going to be one of the strongest things that comes up because, the squares, the oppositions are going to take prevalence, like, in what's really felt. So this is going to be more noticeable as you continue to stay together as a couple, or if you're in a long-term relationship or friendship, you'll notice this coming out more as you spend more time together, because Mercury Venus aspects tend to show up in like the day-to-day, like the, as we become more committed and serious and we're hanging out a lot, then we're going to start to notice that there's something just not flowing here. There's something that needs to be resolved. There's something that needs to be communicated, right? Venus needs to communicate, like, this is how I feel loved, and this is how, like, what I value and what makes me feel good. And Mercury needs to change their style of communication. And Venus needs to be a little bit more impersonal towards Mercury and recognize that, like, when they're just talking, when they're going off about something, or, expressing their thoughts, it's not a direct attack to Venus. It's not like they're not trying to make Venus uncomfortable or give them the ick. That's just the way they think. And so an understanding of the signs that are quincunx here, that are inconjunct, can really help you with this aspect. Just understanding, okay, Venus needs to express like this. This is how Venus feels loved. This is how Venus loves. Mercury thinks like this, and this is how they communicate. And, just understanding those energies can really make this easy and resolvable. And just talking to each other a lot and keeping that flow of communication open, then it can make the communication really pleasurable. It can make this relationship really deep because, we are coming from a different place. We are coming from different values, maybe different thought processes, right? And, it can be a really enriching connection to have when we can understand that. So I'd love to know your experience of this aspect. Was it like this? Was it not like this? Let me know in the comments. And thanks for your requests, you guys. Keep them coming. I'm adding them all to my list. And yeah, thanks for watching. We'll talk soon. Bye.